Hello, Internet! Car review. You know why we're doing a car review? Because... oh, it's snowing out. Yeah, we're getting some snow. Would you look at that? It's Vermont in the winter. So, how do you like that? So we'll do a little car review for you. And what do we have on this lovely car review day? Well, we've got something that, I've had a couple themed weeks, right? I did the ring spinner week, then I did the Woosaw week. And in fact, if I hadn't kind of already halfway committed myself to that Woosaw week, this would have been done sooner. But it's almost like big spinner week since we did the Beast yesterday. And I was going to try to record this yesterday, but life. So I happen to have that Beast review in the can from the Horus collection. So what could be, and this is a large pouch. I don't know if you can tell. And I just checked, I don't have my ruler with me. My ruler, my Slick Rick, the ruler, the rich ruler. I don't have that with me. But it is the full-size pouch that's made for like a full-size, full-size spinner. Ooh, oh, look at you. And when you look at it right there, you might not really realize or appreciate, but this is a bit of a big spinner. And you know how we feel about big spinners around here. We're all about them. We're all for them. So this is the, I don't know if it has a specific name. I'll have to look it up and I'll put it in the notes, or not in the notes, but it'll be like in the title of the video. But this is by Ber Float Reels. They do, oh, it's got a bit of dust, I think, from that pouch in there. I apologize. That also might be from my, from fidgeting with this. So we'll talk about that a little bit here. But yeah, from Ber Float Reels, and it's anodized aluminum. Now, I was chatting with this guy. He was on the Maker Spotlight for Fidget Spot last week, 2 weeks ago, which was part of the reason I wanted to get this out sooner. Jonathan Clark and Benjamin, the gentleman from this site, reached out to me about doing a review on this. And so this is aluminum. They make them in blue and red. I also saw some images he sent of it in brass, but I didn't see the brass on the site, so he might have just prototyped it in brass. I'm not 100% sure, but you can get them in aluminum on the site. And these are some pretty, again, like I was saying, these are big spinners, big old spinners, and we like that around here. Not enough big spinners out there, so let's wait real quick because it is aluminum, so it's not super heavy. So even though it's big, we're not talking hand fatigue or anything like that. But all right, 60 grams basically. So not too bad. So get that 6S gear, get that Cody 6S gear back in frame here. Go check them out at 6sgear.com. So yeah, and if you go to Ber, I'm assuming it's pronounced Ber. They're a Canadian company. It's B-E-R, and they've got a picture of a bear. So I'm assuming it's pronounced Ber. Berfloatreels.com, I believe, is the website. Again, I'll have all the links down below for all that stuff. So, yeah, so they're a Canadian company. On their website, they actually list, we'll just get out of the way just because I'm remembering to talk about it. They list this for about $50 US, but it's like $50.36, and you go to Canadian dollars and it's $65. So I'm assuming that price may change a little bit based on the current exchange rate and all that stuff. I'm assuming it's got some website logic that's doing the math for you. So, but what can we say about this guy off the bat? So, a couple things. The machining on this is really, really nice. We've got really good machining all around here. We've got, it almost looks like, this might be from me or something. I'm not sure. I don't remember seeing this before when I first looked at it. But we've got all these really nice rounded edges. Everything's really soft. And here, these chamfers are actually, they don't feel sharp. But I think they might, like, I can't feel any real burr or edge. But when I'm fidgeting with it, I get the feeling that with my dry skin that's kind of pulling stuff off there a little bit. I'm not sure. So, but it doesn't feel like a sharp edge, but I think that might be what's going on. But it's also dry skin weather, y'all. So I guess it's just is what it is. But again, overall, nicely machined. It's got some kind of a cool look, a cool aesthetic with this little reduced dish in the center here. These big old cog wheels on the outside. So, then it's got an interesting bearing retention method, and I don't think I brought my bearing tool with me either, sadly. So you look at, you've seen this before. Right, that's just a snap ring to get your bearing out. But then look what's on the other side. Oh, so it's a little twofer. So it looks like you can kind of do it either way. Now, I believe it is, they don't list it as like a one-drop bearing. I think it's listed as an ABEC 7 bearing. But it's shielded and it's very smooth like a one-drop. In fact, with a larger spinner like this, despite it being aluminum, I would expect more spin time. But I was only getting about 2 minutes on a spin time with this. But again, I think putting a faster bearing, which I meant to do just to try out before this review, and I forgot to, so I'm sorry, Internet. But I should say these buttons are also one direction that they go in. So if you put it in, see how it fits. It's got that sort of nestled thing to help prevent dust and stuff from getting in the bearing. It fits real snug in there too. If you try to put it on this side, it doesn't work. So just so you know, it's one of those bearing deals that it needs to be set one way. So it does mean that you might be a little limited with custom buttons you throw on there. So, and the buttons, I'll be honest, the buttons almost feel a bit like an afterthought. They're pretty smooth. They look like they've got a very slight concave, but it's very slight. But with the weight of it and the way I fidget with this, the button grip hasn't been an issue. I do think either some bigger buttons or buttons with some texture might add a little bit to this. But other than that, we're all right. So let's talk about fidgeting with this. I got to hold my hand back a little bit because she's so big. It does a nice ringing sound too. Hear that? So how do you fidget with this? When I first grabbed this, I actually had a little bit of trouble with it, much like the Beast, in the sense that, you know, it's just a little bigger than what we're used to. So, but it's light, so if I get it on the side of my finger, I can still flick off. I can still kind of pull in, but pulling wasn't quite as satisfying until I start either using my ring finger, which gets me a little bit more of that outside leverage, so I can wind it up, spin it, or flick it out. But what I'm actually really enjoying is using my ring finger on the inside here, almost like an old rotary telephone. This is oddly satisfying. Again, I think it has something to do with very similar to the Beast, where you're not getting kind of the most leverage possible, so you kind of feel that spinner, I don't want to say working against you, but you just feel that the spinner's there. It's very cool. You can also use it to flick. I find when I try to do that with this finger, I gotta move this out of the way because I gotta hold my hand back. Just flip this over, let you see some of the customization, little options going on there. You can see my little logo Cody put on there for me. When I try to flick it with my index finger, my middle finger, it kind of wants to catch before it releases, just like that. So if you're really aware of it and you really get your finger position and pull off right, but then you've got to consciously think about it. I don't find I have that problem using my ring finger, for me personally. And that's really, really nice. So that's how I really enjoy fidgeting with it. And again, not enough big fidget spinners out there. So, you know, a nice big old piece of aluminum, well anodized, pretty happy with it. So, what else I've really enjoyed with this is doing like table spins. So since it is kind of a bigger spinner, I've got a desk at work that I can just kind of, you know, just sit there and just spin it like this. Just spinning it on a desk, you know, just holding it with my thumb and just spinning it has been a really nice feel because it's very large. This actually works pretty well, but again, I've got bigger hands. So, but if you're looking for those bigger spinners, here's one for you. And again, it's a cog, right? So it's going to feel nice and balanced. It's going to be pretty smooth, although let me just show you, this is one of the two downsides I really kind of wanted to talk about. One was the buttons, and then two was the balance is off what I would consider a pretty fair amount for kind of a... Now, I don't know the science behind balancing, and I'm not sure if being a larger spinner is further unbalanced. Now, you don't, because it's a little larger and it's lighter, I don't really feel that, to be honest. So it looks like a lot of off balancing, and I did talk to him about it, and he mentions it looks like this one might have slipped through, so it stinks that that's the one that, you know, I get to look at. But again, I don't really feel it, and I don't know if it's the size of it. I also don't know if the size makes them harder or easier to balance, but all it takes is that hole in the middle being off, you know, just a fraction of a millimeter to throw the balance off. So, but it feels fine, so it feels good. So I don't feel... I don't know, you're not going to really see anything, so anywho. So yeah, pretty neat little guy. And again, not a lot like it out there. When you start getting into these bigger spinners, all of a sudden aluminum doesn't seem as much of a big deal. You know, something like this in brass I think would actually be really cool. So again, I don't know if he's just made that one-off brass prototype when he was making this kind of a thing, but it was looked pretty cool, looked pretty sweet. So yeah, what else can we say about this? Well, machine, again. Oh yeah, so this, I actually found I really enjoy just holding it. Now, it's a little cold in the car on snow review, so my fingers are starting to look a little dry. Apologies. But, and the aluminum gets cold quick because it's aluminum. It's pretty good at dissipating heat, right? That's why they use aluminum in heat sinks on stuff. So, but it feels nice, you know? It's like nice just to kind of grab onto and hold onto, and just kind of like fidget with, being, you know, because of its size, because of how smooth it is, because of how it's machined. You know, again, not a lot of spinners offer that, so there's something to be said for this guy. So, and at 50 bucks, you know, it's not too much. I don't know if that includes shipping, I'm sorry. But yeah, at 50 bucks, it's not too bad for kind of a large, well-machined spinner. You know, again, not the biggest thing I think it's got going for it is it fits, you know, a market or demographic that there isn't a lot of stuff for out there. So, and again, this is oddly satisfying. I just keep going back to this. This has been my preferred method for fidgeting with it. Almost like an old rotary telephone, like dial 911. Anybody have to do that? Am I that old? I shouldn't be that old. There's some of you out there I know that know what a rotary telephone is, so. Look at her. Look how good she looks. And the anodized, I haven't seen the red in person, but the blue and the red anodization looks really good. Right? It's pretty smooth, right? We're not, again, despite being off balance, it doesn't really feel like that off balance. So, anywho, I think we said all we can say or need to say on this guy. Fun to fidget with. Good desk fidgeter. Looks cool too. I've had a few people comment, like, seeing this on my desk, like, oh, what is that? You know, so if you're one of those guys that likes to get attention or trying to get some people in, ooh, oh, that's kind of fun. Look at that. We just found a new way to fidget. Woo. I'm really enjoying that. Excuse me, internet. Give me a moment here. Anywho. But yeah, so it's caught the eye of a bunch of people, right? Especially in this bright blue. I love me a nice bright blue, nice reflection. You're getting a little bit more teal, so I see it a little bit more blue in person where you're kind of seeing that teal. But again, it's getting a nice reflection there and looks good. So yeah, that is the Ber. We're calling it the Ber Float Reels. And I think I mentioned, right, the float reels is they make fishing reels and things like that. So they've got their machining down, much like the True Spin, right? They were making, you know, billet engines for race cars. These guys are, you know, this isn't their first trip machining, you know, so they just were able to kind of do something on their own, do it in-house, I'm assuming, more or less. So that's kind of cool, kind of neato. So yeehaw. Yeehaw, internets. So we're going to let this one ride, and I will see you, boy, I guess I'll see you when I see you, internets. Kisses.